You finally crossed the finish line, got the massive promotion, aced the brutal exam, or even bought your absolute dream house. So why do you wake up the very next morning feeling utterly hollow, completely exhausted, and surprisingly overwhelmed with profound sadness? Society constantly promises us that achieving these massive milestones will unlock a state of endless happiness and permanent peace of mind. Yet, when that intense euphoria vanishes in mere hours, you are left staring at the ceiling, secretly convinced you are fundamentally broken. You assume you chased the wrong target all along, triggering a vicious, silent cycle of chronic dissatisfaction and relentless burnout. This devastating sense of emptiness right after securing a major victory is absolutely not a sign of depression or personal failure. Instead, you are experiencing a brutal, highly efficient biological feature hardwired into our biology, known as the Dopamine Baseline Reset. We have been culturally conditioned to believe that dopamine is a magical reward chemical that floods our brain when we finally win. But human neuroscience paints a completely different picture, proving that this powerful neurotransmitter is actually designed strictly for the relentless pursuit. Your ancient ancestors did not survive by catching a single meal and then happily relaxing in a cave for the rest of their lives. The mind evolved to constantly hunt for the next missing piece, ensuring you remain hungry, alert, and perpetually dissatisfied for survival. The exact second your goal is successfully caught and secured, your brain abruptly shuts off the dopamine faucet without any warning. It forces your neurochemical baseline to plummet back down to zero, paradoxically punishing your psychological state the exact moment you achieve success. Think of it like chasing a brilliant, glowing orb through a dark forest, letting it fuel every late night and early morning. The pursuit gives you razor-sharp focus, boundless energy, and a clear sense of purpose that easily masks the underlying physical fatigue. But the instant your fingers finally brush against that beautiful, glowing light, it simply flickers out and completely vanishes into thin air. You are suddenly plunged into darkness, standing completely alone at the finish line, with absolutely no clear direction on where to run next. This biological drop is so abrupt and deeply jarring that it forces a sudden psychological crash that closely mimics a lingering depression. We mistakenly label this harsh chemical crash as imposter syndrome, or falsely assume the milestone we worked so hard for was completely worthless. The reality is simply that your internal engine has rapidly run out of its primary fuel source and desperately needs a new target. Understanding this mechanism is the vital first step to escaping the brutal cycle of achievement-induced burnout and quickly reclaiming your mental clarity. You must recognize that the crushing emptiness is not a fatal flaw in your character, but a temporary glitch in your neurochemical plumbing. If you are entirely exhausted from running on a mental treadmill that never seems to stop and want to finally take permanent control, it is time to master your brain's internal reward system and stop letting primitive evolutionary traps dictate your daily happiness and future motivation. Hit that subscribe button right now. Join our rapidly growing community and let us decode the deeply hidden mechanics of your mind together. This evolutionary survival trait that kept our ancestors alive is now severely malfunctioning and completely ruining our modern lives. Ancient hunts lasted a few hours, but today we endure years of extreme stress for a single corporate milestone. This massive modern delay means when the goal is finally achieved, the neurochemical crash is incredibly violent and deep. Worse still, Society immediately pressures us with toxic expectations, constantly demanding to know what our next big conquest is. Before you even process your monumental win, the hustle culture aggressively shoves you right back onto the mental treadmill. This endless, relentless cycle ruthlessly fries your brain's dopamine receptors, leading to chronic fatigue and total emotional numbness. You end up abandoning your hard-earned victories in the dust, desperately digging a new hole to find that high again. Your biological battery is entirely depleted, completely drained of the exact chemical you need to actually enjoy your success. This is absolutely not a mindset issue or a lack of gratitude. It is a fundamental hardware problem in your brain. To permanently escape this brutal cycle, you must aggressively hack your reward system using two highly specific proven protocols. You have to stop letting an arbitrary finish line completely control your daily motivation and dictate your long-term happiness. If you blindly follow the standard advice to just push harder, you will eventually face a total psychological collapse. Instead, we must actively rewire how your brain perceives progress, fundamentally changing the very definition of a meaningful reward. The first critical solution is a technique called Process Inversion, which fundamentally shifts your entire cognitive structure. You must ruthlessly detach your dopamine anchor from the final end result, stripping the trophy of its psychological power. Instead, actively train your brain to release microdoses of dopamine simply by executing your daily tracking and pursuit process. By celebrating the simple act of checking off daily tasks, you create a steady, reliable drip of powerful motivation. This powerful psychological pivot ensures you remain completely energized and deeply satisfied throughout the entire grueling journey. The second absolute necessity is implementing the strict 48-hour isolation rule to achieve crucial baseline stabilization. Immediately after achieving any major goal, you must strictly isolate yourself and block all external stimuli for 48 hours. This means absolutely no social media bragging, no loud celebration notifications, and no instantly chasing the next immediate high. You are aggressively protecting your highly fragile dopamine receptors from burning out entirely under the intense flood of validation. This strategic quiet period allows your neurochemical baseline to stabilize safely, preventing the catastrophic post-achievement depressive crash entirely. By hacking your tracking process and protecting your baseline, you finally achieve sustainable success without the soul-crushing emotional void. You can finally enjoy the view from the summit, fully in control of the incredible machine inside your head.